Hi, this is the Innovation Conversation. I'm Kevin Coupe.
And I'm Tom Furphy.
And I'm coming to you this week from Dallas, Texas, where I'm emceeing the Category Management Association meetings.
And I'm in San Diego at the NGA show.
So we're both in great places. What's interesting to me about this is, I guess it would have been great had they not scheduled these two things at the same time. But in some ways, it's interesting because they're both trying to attack the same problems, just albeit from different points of view.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in interesting times here, and it's funny. It seems like, category management seems like such an old concept, right? So it sounds like a show that is going to be all about late 1990s and early 2000s, but it seems like that they've really evolved with the times.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the days of, while planograms are important, clearly they're trying to take it to another level. They understand that, frankly, part of the problem that they have to face is that so many categories are no longer just being sold in the store, right? It's no longer just a matter of having the product in the store, although that's a big enough challenge, but they also have to make sure they develop the infrastructure and the logistics to be able to get them on trucks, to put them out so people can pick them up at the curb in all those different kinds of ways. And then you have the story about Amazon wanting, basically developing these micro-fulfillment centers that are going to be built into these new grocery stores they're planning to build. It just has to create enormous challenges on the logistics side.
Oh, well, micro-fulfillment certainly there's some complexities there, but the idea of micro-fulfillment that takes inventory that you have down, at the store level and allows it to be efficiently picked for customers, that's actually, I don't want to say it's a simple concept. It's certainly complex in its execution. But if we are going to serve customers, from multiple shelves, right, from the traditional category management store shelf to all these new types of shelves that are available for customers to see products and ultimately enable them to get, products into their carts and ultimately enable them to pick them up or be delivered. Having this efficient capability to pick at local level is important. And, Amazon is not the only company, working in micro-fulfillment today. You see a number of third-party providers such as Takeoff. You see infrastructure providers such as DeMatic. DeMatic is working with Amazon, but they're also working with other retailers. It's not micro-fulfillment is not a silver bullet, but having a low-cost capability to pick and get products into order certainly is.
Well, certainly, and if you can get the product, if the goal is to get the product to the customer faster, and one of the things you're pitching is convenience and speed, and you want to be able to, get those products out quicker and into the customer's hands faster. It's just one more thing that Amazon is doing that I would imagine that the independents that you're talking to in San Diego, that's just a challenge for them, right? Because it's, they've got to hear, hear about logistics and micro-fulfillment, and they got to hear about, ghost kitchens and dark stores and stuff like that. And their heads must be ready to explode in some ways.
No doubt. We haven't seen any exploding heads yet, fortunately. But
it's true in all that beautiful San Diego sunshine.
Yeah, but it's Gary Hawkins was on stage yesterday, where CART had a breakout session. It was very well attended. It was really good content. Gary had said something that I think struck a nerve. He said, "Never in history will the pace of innovation be any slower than it is right now." Which is true, right? Because it speeds up.
Right. Well, and that's like the corollary to the line I'm always using from Jack Welch, right? When the pace of change outside is faster than it is inside, the end is in sight.
Well, and I will say that I would guess, now hopefully we can collectively as an industry fix this, but I would guess 90% of the industry is evolving slower than the leaders are, right? Which is the outside. So I think that's a real warning sign.
One of the interesting presentations here was given by a guy named Michael McGuire, who actually, he's at Walmart, and he basically is the president and CEO of Local Theory, which is part of that whole store number 8 sort of incubator that they have. And what he really talked about was the whole notion of intrapreneurship, and that is the notion of being able to develop these small businesses even within the framework of a larger business. In other words, entrepreneurship we think of as being kind of out there and it's
Yep.
it's disruptive and stuff like that. And he's advocating for the notion of intrapreneurship and arguing that Walmart, this is one of the things that's changing at Walmart.
I think that's critical. I mean, to not only survive but to thrive going forward, you have to build that into your culture. I will say that that's very difficult to build into your culture. It has to start at the top. Right. It has to be truly believed from the top, right? You have to put investment dollars aside to allow folks to innovate. You have to build into their performance plans. You have to build innovation and metrics against innovation into that. You have to reward good, positive, innovative behavior. You have to reward failure in some cases. That's a difficult leap for companies to make when you also have to deliver the quarterly results, right? When you have to service customers today. You have to strike that right balance, though. So I think it's imperative. I do think Walmart has done a pretty good job at that. I think, the Jet acquisition and bringing Mark and his team in has certainly injected an energy and a belief in innovation into that company that, clearly they needed. I think other companies could certainly benefit from a similar kind of cultural awakening.
Yeah, it was funny. I asked Michael about Jet Black and I said there basically is two ways to look at it. One way to look at it is, man, they just didn't give that enough time. But the other way to look at it is, hey, listen, they tried it. It wasn't working. They failed. And so they decided to pull the plug. And he said, you're absolutely right. There's two ways to look at it. But don't forget that it's not like the learnings from Jet Black go away. We learned a lot. And what we learned there, we'll be able to apply to the business in other sort of ways in other sorts of disruptive business opportunities there may be, which I think is a really good point. That's what Amazon does all the time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I don't think when the Jet acquisition happened, a few years ago, I don't think any of us in the investment community or in the e-commerce space felt like Jet was a great business model. It had a bunch of positive elements about it, and it maybe would have had a longer term path to success. But for Jet as a company, the Walmart acquisition was, it was the perfect outcome at the perfect time. I guess with the killing of Jet Black, it's kind of been the last of the actual Jet assets that were terminated. But, Walmart got far more benefit out of the acquisition of Jet than they did a set of assets and capabilities. It was really that spirit and that innovative culture that they were able to, leverage going forward that I think has been the real win there.
Well, listen, I hope you have a great time in San Diego.
Thank you.
I expect the weather is probably a little nicer than in Dallas, although right here it's pretty good. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds great. I'll be here.
See you, everybody. See you next time.